Hey folks, welcome back to Hanbleceya Ranch. My name is Jason, and along with my wife Jen, we left Chicago in the summer of 2021. We came out here to the beautiful state of Maine to start our own off-grid homestead. Now, one of the biggest questions that we get asked, I mean the biggest question, is how much did it cost to do what we're doing? And so in today's video, that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, if you're wondering where I'm sitting, this is a A-frame swing set that I built for Jen and I to sit in our hammock chairs. We used to have our hammock chairs in a couple of trees that were over there, but we've since taken those down when we expanded our garden, and we haven't been able to have these up for a couple of years now. So I'm kind of glad that I did this because it is kind of nice and relaxing to sit in here. Now, this topic is something that I have been mulling over on how to do it for quite a while. We've been at this now for over 3 years, and in that time we have done an enormous amount of work on our homestead, building it from damn near scratch. And during that time we have spent quite a bit of money doing it. So there's no way for me to tell you exactly what we spent, simply because it's been almost over 3 years. But what I am going to do is we're going to go ahead and walk the property, and I will give you guys a ballpark figure to the best of my memory on what we spent on each building. We're also going to be talking about gravel and a few other things as we go along here. Now, like I said, these prices that I'm going to give you are just ballpark figures. A lot of this is going to depend on where you are in the country, what time of year, what type of weather you get, what type of materials and where you buy your stuff from. But at least in our situation, this will kind of give you guys a benchmark of what it cost us to get to where we're at. So when it comes to the property that we purchased, the property we found on landwatch.com, we had been looking for property for over 3 years before we finally found a piece of property that interested us. We found the property on a Monday, and by Saturday we were here in Maine trekking 1.5 miles of knee-high snow to get out to the property to put our eyes on it. We fell in love with the location and we bought it. We purchased approximately 54 acres, and all in we were right around $50,000. It's important to note that when we bought this piece of property, it came with 3 buildings. It came with the original cabin. It also came with a 12-by-8 shed, and then also an outhouse. Now, it's about 25 degrees out today, which is why my hands are up my sleeves, because it is cold today. All right, so the building behind me, this is our woodshed. This building was just about free. Almost all of the materials, the framework we brought with us from Illinois. All of the slab wood was gifted to us from a neighbor, and the 6x6 lumber that's up there for this header portion, that was also gifted to us by a neighbor. Now, the logs you see that are part of the rafters, that all came from trees that we cut down on the property, and the metal in the roof we got in a barter. So all in, this was almost free. So our shop slash garage behind me, this is a 20-by-20 building with 10-foot walls. We built it this summer, and this is where we're going to be doing all of our repairs, all of our tinkering, and just overall shop slash garage type of work. This building, all in, we were about $4,000. Now, it is important to note when I'm talking about these figures that all of our lumber comes locally from a local mill near us. We are not paying the big box prices, not even close. The majority of the metal that we've purchased is all number 2s, so they're about half the price of what new metal would cost. Now, that said, some of the buildings, like the shop, have new metal on them, and we did purchase at new metal prices. But for most of the other buildings, all of that was their number 2 stuff. And what that means basically is that there were either some scratches or dents or damaged metal within those sheets, and that's why it was a cheaper price. Now, when it comes to this shed, the shed came with the property, so that was already here. But what we did is build wings off of both sides for additional storage. On this side over here, we have all of our lumber, and on the other side, we have our snow machines. Now again, all of our lumber came from a local mill, and all of the metal tin that's on the roofs, we got in a barter. A lot of the siding that you see on both sides is actually lumber that we brought with us from Illinois. So really, all in, we're about $300 to $400 on both of these extensions. Next up on our tour is our greenhouse. Now the biggest expense that we had on the greenhouse was actually the polycarbonate panels. Those aren't cheap, and we knew going into it that that was going to be the most expensive part, and we decided to do it anyways because we knew that they were going to last a long time, which is really what we were looking for. Now all in on this greenhouse, we're at about $3,000, and like I said, the majority of that came from the polycarbonate panels and also the roofing, because we did decide to go with new roofing. Now this greenhouse is a 20 by 12 greenhouse, and it does have a split polycarbonate roof. The top third of the roof is polycarbonate, the rest of it is going to be metal tin. Now it hasn't been through a winter yet, so we're really excited to see what it's going to look like. And with the wood stove, we're hoping to get a jump start to our garden season next year. Now when we're talking about the prices of everything and how much it cost us to do everything, it is easy to forget that the garden actually has a pretty substantial cost to it for us. So we have to include that into this comprehensive list of what everything cost us. The garden, including fencing and gating and all of the cedar that we used for our raised beds, including all the loam and the extra dirt, ran us about $1,500 total. Now the beautiful thing about our raised beds is the majority of all the cedar that we used actually came from our property. Last winter, we were out logging cedar logs with a neighbor, and he was able to mill those up into boards for us, and that's where we got these boards, and that really helped to keep the cost down for us. So the little shed over here that we are using for our garden shed, that was actually gifted to us from a friend of ours back in Illinois, and if you're watching this, thank you very much. As you can see, it's still standing. It's important to note that we do have playlists for many of the buildings that I'm showing you today. If you're interested in any of them, please go check out the playlist list, and you can either do a search or scroll down and you'll find the playlist for whatever building that you see or for whatever topic that you see. That said, I recently did a video on our solar system and how much it cost. And without going through my notes, as I'm standing outside freezing my butt off, I think we're right around $12,000 for everything, for all of the equipment that we have that powers our homestead. As for the chicken coop, we're not really done with it yet, but I think right now we're probably into it, I don't know, maybe $200 or $300 total. So not a lot, but that's going to change here in the springtime because we've got some big plans for this chicken run. If you're looking to do this, make the move from the city out to an off-grid homestead, just keep this in mind. You don't have to be a carpenter. You don't have to be an electrician. You don't have to be a plumber. You don't have to be anything. You just have to have a will to do it. Jen and I came out here with zero experience. I never built a building. I never built anything for that matter until I moved out here. Everything that we have built out here, we've learned since we've been here. Was it a struggle in the beginning? Yeah, it was rough. You don't believe me? Go look at those first videos from that first winter we were here. It was a hell of a challenge, but we made it through. Why? Because we want this lifestyle. We knew it was going to be tough. We knew we were going to have to learn new things, and that's exactly what we did. Behind me is our 14 by 14 outdoor kitchen, or as some would call it, a summer kitchen. Now, unfortunately, we don't use it a lot in the winter time because we do cook in the cabin on our wood stove during the winter. But during the summertime, all of our cooking takes place out here. In addition, when Jen is doing all of her canning and we're starting to take the garden down because of our harvest season, she'll do all of that work inside of the outdoor kitchen. Now, all in, this building ran us about $2,000 in total material cost. Now, when we originally purchased our cabins, it did not come with this porch. I built this porch last year, and this porch cost us about $1,000 all in. Now, it runs 16 feet along the cabin, and it's 5 feet off of the cabin. I was supposed to build our front porch this season, but unfortunately I just ran out of time between all of the work that was being done in the garden, the greenhouse, and getting the shop finished. I just ran out of time. So next spring we'll be doing a front porch very similar to this one. So let's talk about our cabins. We have 2 cabins, Amish built by a company called Sturdy Built in Smyrna Mills, Maine. I'll leave their contact information below. We have a 14 by 36, which is what I'm standing next to, and a 14 by 32. Now before I talk about how much we paid for them, I just want to preface it with this. We purchased our cabins in January of 2021. They were delivered in July 2021. The prices are not the same. They are different. And it's going to be different based on where you are in the country. And so with that said, this building behind me, just for the shell, including the roof, the walls, insulated floor, nothing internally, no electrical run, no plumbing, no flooring, finished flooring, no walls, no ceilings. This building here cost us approximately $14,000. And the 14 by 32 behind me was approximately $12,000. Now, in addition to having them built, we also had to have them delivered here. So that was an extra $600 per building. Holy smokes, is it getting cold. All right, last but certainly not least is our 20 by 16 carport. We built this last year, a place that we could put our side-by-side in our Jeep. Fortunately, I got the tractor in here right now. Tractor will eventually go into the shop. That said, this building here cost us approximately $2,000. I can't stress this enough. It is very important to keep in mind that as I'm going through all of these prices, you may be shocked at how high some are or how low they are. But regardless, all of the work was done by us. We didn't hire any contractors to come out here and build any of these buildings or do any of this work that I've talked to you about. And that said, let's talk about the 2 areas that we did have contractors come out and help. All of the gravel you see behind me on this section of road, as far as you can see, has all been added here since we moved here to our property. When we first arrived, this road was horrendous. It was absolutely terrible. And so Jen and I made the decision to bring in rock trucks and a bulldozer and add a foot of new bank run rock. When the dust settled, this improvement cost us about $12,000. The last piece of this puzzle is our well. Now, having the well dug was approximately $3,000. Our first winter, we did not bury our line enough, and we had a lot of problems. We struggled that first winter. So much so that the following winter, we would hire a plumber and an excavator to dig a 4-foot trench and bury our water line. At the same time, we added a pressure tank to our system and converted our well pump from a solar controlled well pump to a 110 controlled well pump. And speaking of the well pump itself, that I think ran us about $1,500. There is a reason for that price. It is a solar powered well pump, and it does run off of solar, which is what I meant a moment ago when we converted the power over to 110. The nice thing about that pump is it is a low wattage pump, using only about 120 to 150 watts. So in addition to the gravel that we purchased for our road, we've also purchased about $5,000 in additional gravel that we have used throughout our homestead. Living on a piece of property that is typically wet does come with some challenges. One of the things that we have found that helps tremendously is gravel. All of our buildings have gravel pads. There's really no other way around building when you're on wetland except to use gravel. That's why, to some degree, we have such a high gravel bill. And that is one expense that we did not count on, but is definitely something that we have budgeted for in the future as we begin to expand out into the woods. Other than what we've already gone over in terms of all of our buildings and the infrastructure, we've probably got $15,000 invested in the interior workings of our buildings, including the cabin, our GPS, our outdoor kitchen, and so forth. So there are going to be those types of costs as well. And that is definitely something that while you're on your own journey, you're going to have to keep in mind. Now, we budgeted for a lot of the things that we have that we've done here on our property since we've been here, but there's also a lot of things that we just didn't know we were going to need, and sometimes it bit us in the ass, sometimes we were prepared for it. Either way, we knew it had to be done, and so we had to do it. Case in point, our gravel road. All right, folks, well, it is getting really cold now. It is getting later in the afternoon. I think it's right around 4 o'clock. You can kind of see how dark it is now here in Maine. In about another 30 or 40 minutes, it'll be pitch black here, and we'll be calling it quits for the day. So wanted to thank you very much for sticking around and watching this video. I hope that it kind of gives you guys an idea of what you could expect. Again, this was our situation. This was our experience. I wouldn't use this as, you know, verbatim, but it certainly might help you benchmark your own budget for your own move off grid. I also wanted to make one more mention that Jen and I will be in Oakfield, Maine on Saturday, November 23rd at a craft fair. I'm going to leave the poster here for you guys to take a look at. I'll also leave the information down below in the description. If you guys are in the area, come by and say hi. If you want to buy one of Jen's crafts, buy one of Jen's crafts. And if you don't, well, don't. Come by and see us and say hi anyway. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next video.